Welcome in to Season 8, Episode 7 of Behind the Screen, a content creation show where I demonstrate and talk about how to write community content for a variety of Onyx Path Publishing's role-playing games, specifically on this channel at least, and field questions from chat about GM tips and best practice and things of that kind. So as you can see, please do feel, right here next to my face, please do feel free to ask anything you can think of relating to playing or running Onyx Path role-playing games. There are no stupid questions. Quick disclaimer. I don't speak for Onyx Path, nor is this project official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own, and this material will be available to buy on Canis Minor. I'm merely a grateful fan with a platform. I'm also disabled. I do experience muscle spasms and twitches, which can be disquieting to watch. Uncomfortable for me too, I assure you. But it can lead to a worsening of my normal stammer and slurring of speech. So if that does occur, I will try to let you know. In particularly bad cases, I may have to end the stream early, but that has yet to happen. I am slowly getting a headache. I can feel it coming on, so we'll hopefully just monitor that, make sure that doesn't get too bad before the stream ends in 2 hours-ish time. I do also struggle with multiple trains of thought, so I will try to finish one before jumping on to the next. So if I'm halfway through a point and you raise something in chat, I will try to acknowledge it. But if it is not directly relevant to what I'm talking about, I'll finish what I'm talking about, and then I'll loop back around to your point. This works because the chat room is so small. In a larger chat, that might be more of an issue, but here we are. But this entire season of the show, as mentioned, is dedicated to Pugmire. I will refer to it as Realms of Pugmire out of habit, because just the second edition is the most recent I played, and that was kickstarted recently. But technically it is Pugmire. And specifically this I've taken a short break from what I was talking about, what I was writing, to go over the recent actual play that I ran on the channel to promote the Realms of Pugmire. That one is accurate to call it Realms of Pugmire, but to promote the Realms of Pugmire Kickstarter for the second edition of the game. I will share a link for that at the relevant time. But today we're going to be continuing my discussion of the adventure that I wrote for that limited series actual play that aired on this channel. But first of all, of course, as is tradition, we're going to be going over the Monday meeting notes, being the best place to catch up on Onyx Path news. It opens with a whole slew of alliteration, so if you're not a fan of that kind of thing, please do skip that, but I'm not going to repeat it. However, things to note. Trinity Continuum Adventure finally released last week, and it's still in the top 10 on Drive-Thru-RPG, so that's pretty cool. Apparently, Adventure itself had some, originally, first edition, had some issues making it to print. Basically, no one thought anyone would. The people in charge didn't think anyone would want to play it, and people did. And there are already anecdotes about people playing it using in other settings, not just like 1920s, sometime around there. Anyway, 30s, I guess. Anyway, the Onyx Pathcast this Friday will be about The World Below, which is a new game being developed, and it's like apocalyptic fantasy, I guess, using Storypath Ultra system. That's on Friday. It was supposed to be last Friday, but last Friday's replacement was just a talk about games in general, Onyx Path games, and talk to the audience about how they got into gaming. So that's pretty exciting if you're interested in that side of things. Sort of what I do here, actually. Are they stealing my thunder? I will be extremely irked if that is the case, because I need that popularity and success. However, every Thursday, Matthew has been posting blogs about The World Below and facets of it. So if you are interested in a deep dive into The World Below, you can catch up on Thursday's blog posts and teasers about it. They go back a couple of weeks now. So if you're interested in that, check it out. This weekend just gone, Badana Group's fundraiser raised almost $3,000 in donations, and they were running beta tests of Branch Riders, which is a TTRPG that Onyx Path are helping them create and will be publishing. And there's two little pictures in the Monday meeting notes of the playtest documents. And also, UKGE, or the UK Games Expo, is happening June 2nd to June 4th, and Matthew, Eddie, and a couple of the other developers will be there running con games for people to attend. So if you're interested in playing any Onyx Path games in the con setting, check out UKGE. It's the biggest one we have in the UK as far as I'm aware. Leisure Games will also have a small selection of Onyx Path books for sale at the show, as well as business cards with a QR code linking to the catalogue on Drive Through RPG. The big news, of course, being the Onyx Path virtual convention is happening again this year. That is June 16th to 18th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, focusing primarily on Story Path, Exalted, and Pugmire, but of course, any Onyx Path publishing game works. If there's anything you want to see happening, historically, there have been a whole slew of con games being run by startplaying.games. So it might be worth keeping an eye on that website for the con games you can join, or if you want to run and potentially make a small amount of money on the side, you can do that too. Certainly, historically, a percentage of the ticket price has gone to charity, so I would assume that is the case this year as well. Conversations continue to be had in the comments section of the blog, talking about a hypothetical new urban horror dark fantasy game wholly created and owned by Onyx Path Publishing, about whether you'd want the book to focus on one type of supernatural creature or a whole slew of supernatural creatures. Obviously, there's precedent in the Chronicles of Darkness game line to have one book per creature, but maybe they mix that up this time around. When that game is actively being developed, of course. It's still hypothetical at this point in time. But if you have any thoughts on that, check out the comments section and let them know. Later this month, we have the They Came From ... crowdfunding campaign. As I mentioned last time, that is going to be something different. It might not be what you're expecting. That's all we know about it so far. There's a link to the Pathcast. This week, again, as usual, all times in Eastern. But this week on the channel, obviously me, hello, I'm Comrade Bubbles, or Ryan, if you prefer, at 9 a.m. Eastern, so 15 minutes ago. Friday at 2 p.m, Hunt of the Vigil, Cinder and Soot. Friday at 9 p.m, Mummy the Curse, Oceans of Eternity. And Saturday at 9 p.m, Changeling the Lost, Viva Lost Vegas, which remains one of my favourite actual play titles of all time. The media highlight of the week related to I believe it's the same channel as the last one I talked about 2 weeks ago, for me at least. If you're watching this on VOD, of course, it could be hours ago. Asterodimus is talking about Science Stories and The Golden Cage, or How to Catch a God. So if you're interested in playing Scion, or just hearing about the myths that have inspired the game, it's a very good game. Check out the media highlight of the week. There's also a link to the Onyx Path News. On sale this week is Vigil Watch, The Kelder Mountains. This was a stretch goal for Dead Man's Rust, and it is a fantastic little source book for Scarred Lands players if you're interested in the Kelder Mountains region of Gelspad. It's well put together, and the team did a great job. That is available on Wednesday. This month's game night will be taking place, as usual, on the last Friday of the month, which is the 26th of May, 2023, to date the video. And in celebration of the upcoming They Came From ... Kickstarter, They Came From games will be highlighted. Any game lines are welcome, of course, but they're wanting to highlight They Came From game lines. In development status, we have... Oh, right, there is a new monthly release roundup, end of April 2023. That is where all of the projects were up to in their timelines. I'm just scrolling through it to see if I've missed anything from the last couple of times I've read through the Monday meeting notes and things of that nature. There's a couple of titles I've got my eye on, and I'm kind of just waiting for them to get through the process. They have not changed since I last checked, so that's fine. But development status, we've got First Draft, Tasty Bit, Trinity Continuum, Aberrant Rooftops, Nova Conflict on the Rooftops of a City. Reminder of the Tasty Bits, I believe all of the Tasty Bits for this year, or at least the next while, will be like little scenes you can put in rather than factions and things of that nature. In Red Lines, we've got the Scion God Jumpstart. I do not envy the team that task, condensing Sound God into jumpstart material. Final draft, Trinity Continuum Ether, the Ether's player guide. Editing, Tasty Bit Sound, Demigod Village. Post-editing development, Trinity Continuum Aberrant, Best at What I Do. So that block of Trinity Continuum Aberrant source books are slowly moving through the process and leaving editing. So if you're following any of those, get hyped. In art direction, M20 Law of the Traditions, M20 Victorian Jumpstart, Scion Once and Future, Trinity Continuum Aegis Kickstarter. They came from ... Kickstarter. Trinity Continuum Adventure Addendum. Deviant the Renegade's Clade Companion, Changeling the Lost 2E The Hedge, Hunter the Vigil Jumpstart, and a Werewolf 20 Icons of Rage. Roll in art direction, in layout, Trinity Continuum Anima, Werewolf 20 Apocalyptic Record, Screen and Booklet, Hunter the Vigil Tending the Flame, Werewolf 20 House of the Apocalypse, and wallpapers for Exalted Essence, Trinity Continuum Adventure, and Werewolf 20th Apocalyptic Record. In proofing, we've got Mage of the Awakening, Tome of the Pentacle, and Trinity Continuum Adventure, Screen and Booklet. In indexing, Exalted Essence, which is no mean feat in and of itself, even the streamlined rules are a tome. And at press, Mage 20th Victorian Age and Screen, Sound Dragon and Screen, Sound Masks of the Mythos and Screen. All of those are finishing shipping to Kickstarter backers. They came from Tasty Bit compilation, Exalted 3rd Edition Surface Truths. POD proofs are on the way for approval. Trinity Continuum Stampede of Justice, which is the Adventure Jumpstart. Print-on-demand files have been uploaded. Sorry, that's what POD stands for, Print-on-Demand. Trinity Continuum Adventure, the traditional printing files are being prepped and awaiting specs from the printer. Werewolf 20th Apocalyptic Records print-on-demand files are being uploaded, and as I said, Scarred Lanterns, The Vigil Watch, Kelder Mountains, PDF and POD versions on sale this Wednesday on Drive-Thru-RPG. And today's reason to celebrate was... Yesterday's reason to celebrate was the birth date of an American graphic designer, illustrator and director. Here endeth the Monday meeting notes. So, yes, so specifically this season of the show, going into the actual meat of the show, so to speak, is the me going through my notes, my adventure notes on the adventure that I wrote for the actual play that I ran on the channel, A Ball to Die For. Again, I cannot stress enough that none of this is canon, none of this is official. Like, it would be cool if it were adopted as canon. Highly doubt it will be, but hey, weirder things have happened in my life. No, that's a lie. That would be probably the weirdest thing. Yeah, that'll probably be up there at the very least. So spoilers abound. Like last week, I said that I was going to try to avoid spoilers for the first part of it, but there's only so long I can stall before heading into spoiler territory. That link should take you to the playlist where all of the actual play is recorded, uploaded on YouTube for posterity and viewing on demand. Yep, can confirm it's there. So if you are interested in what I'm talking about here, or if you're just interested in seeing Pugmire be played, well, technically Realms of Pugmire be played, that playlist is the best place to start. Caveat that with the caveat that we were using an older version of the rule set when Wizards of the Coast tried updating the Open Gaming License, the OGL, that the rule set that we used made use of, and that Pugmire First Edition makes use of. Quite rightly, Eddie Webb went through and removed all of the OGL material covered by the OGL and made it wholly original and creator-owned for the Onyx 20 system. So we'll talk about stuff that won't be in the final version of the rules, purely because we were using an old playtesting rule set. This adventure is neutral. It will work for first edition and it'll work for second edition, purely because there's enough crossover between the two, and also I'm not including all that much like, hey, this will require a check at this difficulty and using this attribute, because that very much depends on your player group. I may include some guidance in my like reflections, but as to like, hey, this should be medium. This should be an easy or medium thing with difficulty ranging from this value to this value. But I when I'm writing adventures, this is very much like a, hey, this is how I write adventures for myself to use, not this is how I write adventures for other people to use, which is why I'm providing the commentary and the reflection. And I typically don't include difficulty numbers or anything of that kind, purely because I kind of feel like the difficulty of a check is going to be impacted somewhat by the player characters, and you will never have the same player characters that I have unless I provide pre-gens, I guess. So and like obviously some player groups are better at some doing some things than other player groups. So a medium skill check for one player group will be a hard skill check for another, purely because they don't have that skill coverage, or just check, sorry, ability check. So that's why that's why when I'm writing for myself, I tend not to include that level of detail. And also this is just like a side thing, but when I write story path material, I don't include dice pools when I write that, because I'm open to, I try to encourage my players to suggest their own dice pools, because one, it's less work on me, it's less work for me to do, and it is less prescriptive. And two, if the player is looking at their character sheet that much to figure out what dice pool they want to use, one, they're going to remember the character sheet more because they're just looking at it, so they'll be able to respond quickly to things. And two, I always hope that it will increase their engagement with the game, and the more engaged they are with the game, hopefully the more entertaining they find the game, and the more immersed they are in the game. So that is why I'll try. That's why the body of the text probably won't include difficulties or attributes. Obviously, in some instances, it's going to be pretty obvious what should be there, and if that is the case, I'll probably include it. And then when Realms of Pugmire comes out, maybe just do some footnotes to update the text to include the Realms of Pugmire wording. Or the other way around, like update the main text for Realms of Pugmire and add footnotes for the original material. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That won't be for some time yet, and I may forget to do that. So last time, obviously, I opened up with kind of my personal philosophy when writing limited series and time budgets and things of that kind. And as a swift recap of that, my general estimate, my general rule of thumb when planning a one-shot or a limited series is you're probably going to have 3 scenes per session. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but on average, in my experience, for a 3-hour session, it works out about 3 scenes. And with that information, you can theoretically work out how much material you need to prepare in advance. I did point out that's kind of hypocritical. This adventure does not make any use of that, because I was very much just ad-libbing on the fly for the last half of it, and that's fine. Particularly D20 systems, and to be fair, a lot of tabletop role-playing games, you'll find that combat scenes obviously take longer than that. So if you have a combat scene, you may only get through 1 or 2 scenes in a session. But that kind of 3 scenes is me rounding up, by the way. It usually works out like 2.5. But I try to end a lot of the time trying to end on somewhat of a resolution, unless I want to build drama for the next session, obviously. So that's your budget. Hey Zach, how are you doing? Welcome in. And with that in mind, obviously I also then I believe I then also talked about the dangers of over preparation, particularly for a limited series, because the focus here is very much on writing for a limited series. You don't want to prepare too much, which is what I did, and I admitted that on stream, and I've included that in my feedback, my reflections. A Obviously, if you're writing for your home game and you don't have, you know that you're not necessarily bound by the same time constraints. Like I was working towards a hard time constraint of one of my players had a commitment like the week after we actually ended the show. So I had to rein things in and omit material. So it's the old truism. If you write enough material, never be afraid to kill your darlings. And you will just, if you write a lot, be prepared to throw stuff out. Or as I did, make it redundant. So the players will just have multiple ways of getting to the same spot. Just maybe don't do it as overwhelmingly as I did, as I said last time. Something I do want to talk about before getting into the main part of the stream today, which will just be going through the scenes and explaining stuff, elaborating on things, adding some box text for descriptive purposes. Something I did want to talk about, however, is considerations to make when not just GMing, but when playing in an online game as well. And this is coming from personal experience, but as just in general a content creator, but also as someone who does a lot of role playing. When less so with scene description and scene setting, although obviously if you make a lot of use of environmental art, the temptation there is to just use the art as a crutch and describe what isn't in it. But particularly when talking, when role playing, when interpersonal conversations, that kind of thing. Something it's useful to get into the habit of is narrating physical actions as well as what you're saying. It flies in the face of everything. Obviously, a lot of advice you see online about storytelling is show, don't tell. But I find that it's a lot easier to keep track of stuff if you both show and tell. And like personally speaking, when I'm role playing, I will also narrate my internal thought processes, because there's every chance that someone will have like some character at the table will pick up on that through micro expressions and whatnot, and be able to bounce off it, and you tell a better story that way. I don't believe in like my characters being complete emotionless walls that no one can ever get a read of. It is very much, this is what I'm thinking right now, but this is what I'm saying, and if anyone wants to call me out on it because I'm displaying a tell I'm not aware of, feel free to do so. But more importantly, that's just like a digression, but I just think it's fun and lends an extra layer of interactivity to the storytelling. Particularly when you're doing it as a GM and the players are doing stupid things and the villain is just internally critiquing them, and you say that that's what the villain's thinking. Everyone gets a laugh out of it, but then you continue the scene. But going back to the actual role-playing stuff, and narrating the body language and the actions. This is good practice for a couple of reasons. One, it will encourage you to think more about your role-playing and your own physicality when role-playing. Obviously, not everyone has the time, space, or inclination. Like, you don't have to do it. You can just narrate everything via the third person. That's totally valid. I like to get into character myself, but not everyone likes to get that as into character as I do, and that's fine. And some people like to get more into character than I do, and that's fine as well. There's no wrong way to roleplay as long as everyone's having fun. I want to reiterate that for those at the back. There is no wrong way to roleplay as long as everyone is having fun. So yeah, one thing is obviously just help you think about the physicality more. Two, it will help with your emotional intelligence. Role-playing is great for teaching you soft skills. Air quotes, soft skills. I hate that phrase so much. Soft skills. But that's why I say air quotes instead of doing the air quotes, because I'm telling rather than showing. Obviously, because you're thinking about how someone else would think and behave, it allows you to empathize more with other people. and to read their body language and try to kind of get a better understanding of social situations that you may not have. I know certainly that role-playing has helped me incredibly with social and emotional skills that I struggle with because of the way my brain works. I'm neurodivergent. Like, I do have problems reading people's body language, and like, it's not perfect, but it's better than it would be if I weren't role-playing so much, or if I didn't role-play so much. So we've got physicality, we've got air quotes soft skills, and we've also just got consideration, right? This is less so if you're playing in person, but this is incredibly important if you are playing online, or if you are playing a virtual game on stream, for example, or pre-recorded and uploaded to YouTube or whatever. Not everyone has a stable internet connection, so not everyone can watch video properly, or will have horrendous like lag or delay or what have you. Some people just prefer to play without video, and that's totally fine. I know I have days where my dysphoria flares up and I don't want to be on camera. For this show specifically, I always use the camera because it's a community focused show, and I feel like having, particularly when I'm just talking and not typing, it would be you'd have nothing to look at and pay attention to, and I'm here to kind of try to offer advice, and if you've got nothing to look at or focus on, you're going to get distracted, you're going to look elsewhere, and you're not going to pay attention. And honestly, like, that's fine. I can't stop you. Do what thou wilt. I almost quoted the OTO then. Not there's anything wrong with Thelema. So that's why, like, I use the webcam for this show, but certainly on my own stream, I have a variety of things that I put up in place of a webcam feed when I just don't fancy being on camera. But obviously, if you're on if you're not using a camera and you are getting into character physically, no one can see that at all, except anyone who might be in the room with you. So half of your role playing is, more than half, obviously, isn't it? Like 70, 75%, whatever, of communication is nonverbal. A lot of your role playing is being missed because people can't see you. So it's useful to narrate it in that regard. If you are narrating it as the GM, well, just in general, actually, if you're narrating it, it also means that everyone is on the same page. It also means that people can look away for momentary distractions if something happens. And they're still following along. And also, like, I'm gonna freely admit it, if I'm playing online or in person, I tend to be doing other stuff to stim. I have to stim a lot, keep my hands occupied, and sometimes you do miss things because you're distracted or something happens, that you have to check, and having someone narrating their character's body language also helps with that. And then the last kind of point related to that, before we actually get into the show proper, going back to sometimes people don't have the video on, or sometimes people just stick streams, APs, whatever you want to call it, actual plays, by the way, on while they're doing stuff, while they're distracted, while they're doing housework, while they're doing schoolwork. Although obviously, if you're doing schoolwork, please focus on that. Like, I admit, I watch Critical Role, and obviously a huge part of the draw there is everyone's physicality, their body language. They act through the role playing because that's their skill set. But if you watch it like I do at 2x speed, so you can get through it in a decent amount of time, or if you have it on like I do while doing housework, you miss out on so much, and I genuinely believe there's no reason to. I'm not saying you have to narrate every single muscle movement or twitch, but having some indication of when a character's body language changes, however much, like it could be a minor thing such as they just raise an eyebrow, or a major thing like they just lean back confidently in their chair as they assume control of the situation. You can add so much to the storytelling to people who aren't able to watch the video, or who are watching it at such a speed that minor things don't get picked up very easily because they happen in the blink of an eye. And also, just it's nice. Like it just seems like a consideration thing, obviously. But that's just my approach to things. Yours might differ. That was it. I got a bit soapboxy towards the end. I do apologise. Obviously, this whole show is a soapbox. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I haven't run all that many actual plays, but I try to be considerate when I do, and certainly no one has ever said that they don't want me to do that in private games or actual plays. If you're interested in that side of GMing, particularly for GMing for an audience, obviously there are a lot of actual plays out there. There are several on this channel, and there are several on like friends of the channel. Highly recommend checking them out. And it's the truism of if you want to write, read. If you want to GM, watch. You can learn so much about other people, about your own preferences as a GM by watching other people. I'm certainly, I think, a better GM for watching actual plays and picking up on stuff and figuring out what works for me and what I like to see at the table and what kind of things I like to do. And also, obviously, it's aspirational. It's like, that GM does this cool thing, I'd like to experiment with fitting that into my game. And obviously, Onyx Path tried to maintain a reasonable online presence for their games, so I would not be surprised. I think there has been in the past anyway, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were a virtual games panel at the con this year. And if you are interested in that kind of thing, obviously when the con schedule goes live, check it out. If you are able to attend, if the panel is a thing, obviously do so, or watch it on demand after the fact if it's, because time zones might be an issue. But that's enough soapboxing for me. I'm going to hydrate. While I hydrate, obviously, if you have any questions about what I've been talking about, or if you have any criticisms, positive, constructive, preferably, feel free to do so. I just need to hydrate because I've been talking for a while without drinking water, and my throat's starting to get a bit scratchy. I'm also going to check my email while I'm doing it because I can't talk while drinking, so... Nothing new. Nobody wants me. Okay, so, yes. Back to the actual show. So, last week, I talked through why I did all of this NPC prep, because, as a recap, that's just my weakness as a GM. I'm aware of that. Or one of them, anyway. I don't have just the one. And then I talked through the prologue, and I provided some commentary on the prologue, provided some box text for the GM to read. You know what, actually, rather than to remind myself this is read aloud text, I will italicize it. When it goes into layout, it won't be italicized because italics can be an accessibility issue. But for now, that's that. So what I actually need to do now is rework all of this, because I had a better idea of how to do this for like public consumption. So the font is the Joyeuse, which is Pugmire's font for headings and stuff. And yes, I do use dark mode in Microsoft Word. So I just need to relabel all of these. Actually, that probably, as these are the two most important scenes here, if I do this as 1B and then C, D, E, and an F. For now, I'll just label these scenes 2 and 3. Sorry, 2, 3, and 4. But we'll get onto that in a bit. So, yes, as I believe I mentioned this last time. And again, it's been 2 weeks, so I may not have done. I may be misremembering. Apologies. Sorry if I am. But I created all of this information because I wasn't sure where the players were going to go. So I had to prepare a lot of vignettes that they would not necessarily get to or experience or whatever, but would provide story hooks for well, some would provide story hooks for future reference, for future stories. Some would just be red herrings, and some would just not provide a story hook at all. They'd just be self-contained and not necessarily go anywhere. So the important thing to note is that scenes A and B are the main hooks here. They are the those are the plot critical scenes, and they will encounter either A, B, or both. So I guess that would be commentary. Does not need to be bold. Scenes 1A and 1B are the plot critical scenes that will lead the character. Again, sorry about the typing sound. I got the quietest keyboard I possibly could. Hopefully the inoffensive background music is helping to dampen the sound slightly. I think my commentary and tipper in capitals. Lead the characters towards this boil. Scene 2. And provide them with some news of investigation. The other scene, some of the other scenes contain information that lead to future stories or red herrings, as you so choose. If the characters encounter any of these scenes, let's say encounter scenes. Nope. There we go. 1C through 1F. Without agreeing to undertake an investigation following the Foxhound, B, their reception will be they will be viewed as an inconvenience by their hosts, as they lack a reputable introduction. These scenes were, well, scenes 1C through scenes 1C through to 1F were written to establish flavor for the adventure, and can be removed without impacting it. Tip. Nope, top. Tip. If you are pressed for time, I recommend choosing only scene 1A or scene 1B and have the other hound always be too busy with preparation. To meet with the characters. Busy preparing to avoid repetition. Pull the ball to meet with the characters. Okay, so meeting the Transylvanian Hounds. I should probably elaborate on this slightly. So we need some read aloud text. Townhouse in front of you is made of a pale grey stone. Whoa, that's a raid. I don't know the shout out command on this channel. I do apologize, but welcome in, raiders. I mean, is it just SO? Hang on, 1 second, it might just be SO. Hey! It was. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. If you're new here, please be aware that this is not a normal actual play. I'm not running a game for anyone. I'm in fact talking about how I wrote an adventure recently and my thought processes behind it that did air as an actual play on the channel. This is a community-focused show where I go through how to write material, how I approach writing adventures, hooks, characters, all of the good stuff, to hopefully help you out with your own problems. So hopefully help you out with your own adventures, characters, and whatnot, and provide another way of looking at things to help people get out of their own heads. A lot of it, all of this is my own opinion. None of it. I don't work for Onyx Path in any official capacity. They don't pay me to run the show, for example. Everything is my own opinion. So please, unless it starts spouting off extremely bigoted stuff, please don't complain. I very much like the show. But welcome in. Please do ask any questions you may have about the material I'm writing or discussing, or Onyx Path role-playing games in general. The stuff I'm writing is purely there for something for me to do and talk about in the absence of conversation in chat, and I will take as long as I have to go through this material. We're doing tavern talks on how to improve as a GM and player, so this seemed a good stream to send people to. Excellent! Yeah, so if anyone does have any questions, that is very much why I'm here. For my credentials, so to speak, I'm aware that I haven't been playing role-playing games for all that long in the grand scheme of things. I'm coming up on 13 years in October, but I've basically been running role-playing games for about 3 months less than I've been playing them, so that's cool. And I've had a lot of experience in those 13 years, so feel free to ask anything. There are no stupid questions. There are stupid answers, but there are no stupid questions. Hopefully this is a nice, friendly atmosphere, and you stick around. Obviously, if you don't want to stick around, you don't have to. I can't make you. But the channel and myself and Onyx Path will all be appreciative for any time that you do spend here. I do have a window open right now, right next to me, so if you hear any strange, loud noises in the background, I live quite close to a big road. Yeah, so I'm going to continue talking and typing and rambling, and hopefully say something of interest. And obviously, if you want to interrupt me at any point, I can see chat, I will reply. So feel free to let me know what you think. Rule of thumb for anyone. When writing read aloud text, obviously, depending on the context, that's the word I was looking for. Depending on the context, sometimes longer is not always better. If you're writing like a pre-written adventure and you're dealing with some weird stuff, longer might be better there, because it means that you can clearly summarize the weird stuff, TM, and ensure that everyone is on the same page. Whereas obviously if you stick to like a short paragraph of read aloud text, and not everyone likes read aloud text obviously, but if you stick to a short paragraph of read aloud text, of box text, whatever you want to call it, and then have the weird stuff TM in just the general adventure write-up, there is a chance that it will be misunderstood, misconstrued, misread, and that like something that you thought was obvious but is important could get missed in translation, so to speak. So very much, if there's anything that you feel is incredibly important to an adventure, obviously that you feel is important to an adventure, include it in the box text to be read aloud, because that way it is in your words and it is there for everyone to pick up on. Obviously, all of that said, if the role-playing game that you're writing for doesn't typically use box text, you then have to make that judgment call as to whether or not you want to include it. Obviously, my usual go-to advocacy is when you're writing material for a game, mimic the existing material. Make it as compatible as you possibly can. Use the same terminology, although that's just common sense. Use the same fonts where possible. Obviously, if it's not official material, include that it's not official material. Onyx Path community content platforms all have a legal boilerplate you have to put in your community content to say that this is not official material, and to cover everyone's backs, really. So be aware of that. Also, I haven't mentioned it recently on the show, but obviously if you are writing community content, check the restrictions on what you can talk, what you can cover. Not every, regardless of what game line you're writing for, not every book or not every piece of material will be covered by the community content. And this is specifically for community content. I'm not going into OGL stuff because that is technically a different game line, and not Onyx Path Publishing. And there are a whole slew of other creative licenses out there. So specifically for Onyx Path Publishing, the community content platforms they operate: Storypath Nexus, Canis Minus, Laurentian Vault. To some extent, Storyteller's Vault, but I believe that's Paradox run, not Onyx Path. Particularly for Chronicles of Darkness material. They all have a page detailing what you can and can't write about, and it's always worth checking that. Obviously, if there's something on the, like, if there's a glaring omission on there, and you're like, this book has been out for years at this point, why isn't it here? There are support channels you can go through. The Onyx Path official community Discord server has dedicated channels for the community content platforms, and usually people are fine with you asking there, and if it is just a genuine oversight, that will get updated and you'll be told that you can cover that material. But I realized that I haven't talked about that recently, so there we go, I've spoken about it. Now I shall return to my wordsmithing. Townhouse in front of you made of a pale grey stone, likely quarried from the hill that looms behind it. The windows are dark. Paint on the front door. Oh, the paint on the front door, that's a whole different game. Paint on the front door is peeling slightly. The knocker makes a resounding noise that echoes from the nearby buildings as you Oh, well, there's a name I recognise. Thank you for subscribing, Ghost of Cinders. Thank you for using that Prime Gaming sub. For those of you who don't know, I'll talk about this later as well. But for those of you who don't know, if you have an Amazon Prime account, how are you doing, Ghost of Cinders? If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can, as part of that, link it to your Twitch account and get a Prime Gaming account, which gives you a variety of rewards. But the most pertinent one right now that we're talking about is one free subscription a month. It lasts for 30 days, I believe, standard Twitch subscription length. It does not auto-renew, so you will have to manually renew it or change it to a different channel. But it's free, air quotes free, for you to use, and it gives you and the channel all of the benefits of a normal tier 1 subscription. So Ghost of Cinders now has access to all of the emotes that comes along with that. And the Discord subscriber exclusive Discord channel on the Onyx Path community Discord server. And also, if that's not good enough, all of the material, all of the content on this channel has a week's exclusivity for subscribers. After that week, you can watch it on Twitch. This show actually does go up on my YouTube channel, but a lot of the material obviously just goes up on the Onyx Path's YouTube channel. I think it's the Onyx Path, but I could be wrong. So that's all the benefits you get. That's the good stuff for subscribing. I'll mention that later as well if you forget. Working on 2 things we share assignments on for the cool people we are, but it's all secret, although you can make guesses. I probably can make guesses, Ghost of Cinders. I probably can. I'm hyped about those assignments. Terrified about the responsibility that comes with assignment, with contract work, but hyped nonetheless. The knock makes a resounding noise that echoes from the nearby buildings as you wait for someone to answer it. See, I've written that. See, here's the thing. Here's where I was at the start. I was like, kill your darlings. And in that context, for the raiders who have stuck around, that was more about over-preparing for materials, particularly when you have a limited time in which to play the game. So, as Ghost of Cinders has alluded to, and as I've mentioned, I do contract work for Onyx Path and a couple of other companies. I'm a freelance writer. Nothing's out yet, unfortunately, so I don't have that coveted purple text, purple name on the Discord server. But one day, and something that happens a lot when you are writing that, like, So I started out with community content and with the show. That was my routine. That was my foot in the door. I didn't really... It's not something I particularly paid attention to that much. Oh, there's the Onyx Path Discord server. Thank you, Nightbot. When I started out, it was like I would just write what I want to write, and it's my community content, and as long as it is consistent with established game tone and terminology, and does what I want it to do, it's fine. Like, it works, and it'll go in. Unfortunately, when you get freelance work, you have word counts and word limits. And it's like writing essays all over again, for those of you who remember university and school. So something I'm trying to get a lot better at now is when I do write box text, read loud text, is to look at it, like, after I've written it, and go, that doesn't actually, like, it's cool. It sets the scene, but it's not actually giving the information that I want to give. And in this instance, the information I want to give is not how you get to the scene, it is what the scene looks like when you're actually in it. So as cool as this is as scene setting, it's utterly useless for my purposes, and I must delete it. Because I very much want this to be, here are my notes, use them in the way you want to use them. I don't want to provide too much information. I want people to be able to take this adventure and make it their own. So as cool as the approach is, it's gone. I mean, it can return as easily as a Control-Z, but it's gone. So I actually want to, I should probably include that in the commentary The read aloud text for these scenes is intended to provide the bare minimum in scene setting. A bare minimum scene setting. You are encouraged to make material your own by this. I'll go get stuff done, but I wanted to say hi. Well, thank you for swinging by to say hi, Ghost of Cinders. Good luck with the work. Hopefully you have a better day today. And thank you for the well-wishing. You're encouraged to make the material your own by describing the character's approach. However you wish. There we go. That basically summarizes what I just said. So, actually, I just want to describe the room. So, the room Larissa Spitz shows you into is a shared office space. One side is dominated by a wide wooden desk that rests in... Not rests, rest is the wrong word. Sits in front of a neatly organized geological display. The other is cluttered by loose piles of paperwork and folders scattered across the desk. Loose piles of paperwork, books and folders. I've written myself into a corner. One side is dominated by a wide wooden desk that sits in front of an organised geological display. The other is cluttered by... No, I need to remove this and rework the entire sentence. I want to avoid dominated because the focus of one side was the desk. The other contains a battered, scarred desk and shelves. Both are covered in piles of paperwork. Folders and hand-bound books. A love seat. Spring showing through its cushions. Wouldn't be spring. Stuffing. There we go. Out of its cushions. Lies against the far wall. Lies underneath the window. Against the far wall. I need to put that subordinate clause in there. That's fine. I'll fix that. Probably should put end dashes there rather than commas, but again, I'll fix that in editing. I love seat. The stuffing the accounts cushions lies underneath the window. No, even better. Lies underneath the window set into the far wall. There we go. For those of you new to the show, this is what a lot of the show is, unfortunately. Well, in the downtime from answering questions, discussing stuff chat's talking about, this is just me writing aloud. And like talking about why I'm doing certain things and things of that nature. And then it was... Right. Carolyn is there, and Lachlan arrives later. Carolyn looks up from behind the wide desk and invites you to sit on a series of chairs pushed against the wall nearby. Lachlan arrives moments later, cane tucked under his arm. So that's it. That's setting the scene. What the house looks like will be different for every group that uses these notes, and that's totally fine. That's my intention, obviously. I'm not. Again, this is more just me providing notes and the basis of an adventure, rather than here is an entire pre-written adventure. And I'll make that abundantly clear in product description and introduction or forward or whatever I decide to call it. But for now, we'll go with that. So, that's the read aloud text. There we go. Okay, so location. Rundown city house of the Transylvanian Hounds. The information that they possess and the clues that they will leave. So here we go with commentary. Apparently I caught Control N instead of Control B. The Transylvanian Hounds have personal stakes in the adventure. In this adventure, sorry. And will be as honest as they can with the characters. When the characters investigate the missing relic, should be allowed to use either notice or... Oh gosh, I'm pretty sure it's investigate, but my brain has gone completely blank. Where is my PDF of the Pugmire rulebook? Please bear with me while I scroll through a rulebook. It's just easier if I fall silent while I'm scrolling. There we go. Search. There it is. Notice or search. We'll find different clues based on which I'm going to say approach they take. In the AP, I opted to allow characters to find same clues, but that's really clunky phrasing. So essentially, what I did during the actual play, again, huge spoilers here, I guess, was depending on which skill they wanted to use, because one of them had notice. I believe it was notice. So I was like, if you rolled notice, this is all mentally. I didn't say this out loud. If you roll with notice, there's a different difficulty threshold, varying difficulty thresholds to determine how many clues you find. And if you get all of them, congratulations, you find all the clues. If you only get one, depending on your approach, you will find different clues in a different order. So the clues list that is provided here of a tuft of white fur caught on the glass, a curiously twisted paw print, and a low point of entry, those are the order that they would discover them if they use notice. And it started at difficulty 13, and it was 13, 15, and 18, I believe. So if they'd only rolled a 15, they would have found the white fur and the paw print. If they had used search, they would have found the low point of entry, the twisted paw print, and then the white fur. Just saves me having to provide an entirely different clue list, and allows for, going back to what I said at the start of the of today's stream, allows for parties that have slightly different skill coverage. Because if they didn't have search, for example, and I was very much sticking to the rules as literally written, and that if you're searching for something, because you're actively looking, you have to use the search skill. I don't mind using notice in this instance either. Oftentimes, I will increase the difficulty of a notice roll if it's something that search is more suited for, and that's also something you can do. But particularly with an investigation, you don't want players to miss the clue. So, I set it at 13, 15, 18 because I was reasonably confident that one of them would get that difficulty 13 result, because two of them could roll wisdom-based checks with advantage, which makes it quite likely that they'll get that first clue. If that weren't the case, or if they hadn't, they would probably have still got the first clue. Or they would have got one of the clues, but they wouldn't have got as much information from it. And it's just considerations to make. And again, that's why I write things the way I do. That's why I'm not going to provide difficulty numbers. So I just need to take what I've just said and translate it into a written commentary so that people know what I was aiming for. Right, okay. So, the order of clues presented below is for a character using notice. If they opt to use search instead, we find the clues in the opposite order. I would recommend setting a low difficulty for the first clue. And then awarding an additional clue for every there's no precedent for wording this, because this is kind of where D20 systems fall down a lot of the time for me. It's because it's very binary. You succeed or you fail. I guess every additional 2 over the difficulty. But 2 what? There's no words. It's not points. It's not successes because you only have one success or one fail. It's incredibly annoying as a writer. I don't want to word it in a way that makes it seem like they have to keep rolling because this is a one and done roll. Purely just to save time. Rolling obviously slows the game down. And this was written for an actual play, but obviously just it's good practice really to keep the game moving as swiftly as you can. Swiftly but smoothly. You don't want it to get bogged down by unnecessary dice rolls. I guess I'll just go with this for now and tidy it in editing. Just save me just agonizing for half an hour of this. Then awarding an additional clue for every additional 2 over that difficulty. If the characters fail, they gain only the first clue, but like any contextual information, it's kind of redundant as it's a clue, it's all contextual information. Oh, let's go with put one of the Transylvanian hounds. Staff have damaged is the wrong word. Contaminated is the technical word, but I feel like it's, again, like it's not a formal investigation. Let's say altered it slightly, leading to is there a style guide that describes tables of bullet points? Because the GM paragraph is a lot harder to reference, but a table that lists a few DCs and the results 10, 12, 1, clue 13. Will be so much easier to read mid-game. Style guide in Pugmire. So there is guidance provided for such things on Canis Minor. Hang on, please bear with me 1 second. And there is a book called Pan's Guide for New Pioneers that has a lot of information about creating material for Pugmire. Not necessarily for Canis Minor, which is the community content platform, but for just in general, like making your own stuff for it for use at home. That's very useful. I thought there was a style guide, but I could be wrong. However, to address the main point, if this were, I mean, I very well might add that as a table. It's just because this is more my notes, and like this is a. Sorry, while I'm answering this, I'm scrolling through what's on the Canis Minor to see if that information does exist. Because this is very much my notes, and I'm just making them usable for other people. I might not do that. I might. There's every chance I might, because I am a sucker for making work for myself. I'm not seeing anything like that, unfortunately. Obviously, I'm going entirely on book titles, so that information might be elsewhere. It might be in a book, sorry, that I'm just not seeing. But it's definitely something to think about. There are obviously tables and charts in the book, and oh gosh, where is it? Sorry, I have to navigate my my file structure to see. Hang on. To see what's actually included in the assets. Open. There we go. Sorry, I'm just opening the provided template to see what is actually included. Because it's my first Pugmire material, so I don't know exactly what's included. Okay, so to answer the question, no. But that kind of thing is something that you can do, obviously. In fact, that is what I'm doing in the work I'm writing this season. I have a whole results table, so it's not buried in text. This commentary section is less prescriptive and more just my recommendations based on my notes, so that people can do it their own way and make their. I want this to be a springboard because this was an actual play, because it was aired and you can watch it. I do want to provide material that allows people to make it their own. Obviously, some people don't want to, and that's totally valid. They can take this material and run with it as is. In fact, because as you have pointed out, it is kind of buried in text. So what I will do is move all of this down to the clues section. So for now, at least, mostly because setting up tables in Word is tedious. For now, at least, it's in the right place and can be referenced easily with the core information of the scene. What other commentary do I need to provide? This scene went reasonably well, so I don't think I particularly need to provide anything. Oh, right. Yeah, I do need to provide something. If this is the only avenue of investigation the characters choose to follow or is made available to them, you will need some way of leading them to the spoil. In the AP, I provided a flyer for a tavern. Gave the characters a scent trail they could follow. Oh, you will some way. But thank you for making that point, Half and Grim. Something to bear in mind when I'm going through all of this is that I don't typically run pre-written adventures, which is why my notes look the way they look, because they don't contain. I haven't internalized that way of writing material, because I don't run. I have this thing where my anxiety kicks into overdrive if I use pre-written material. Not that I haven't. I should clarify. I do use it occasionally, particularly when it's to promote something. I will use the official material then if there is some extant. But if I have it written out in front of me, I have to stick to it to the detriment of the game and my mental health. My notes are freeform because I like the ability. Because even when I write it, I'm like, well, I have to stick to this. It's written down. So everything is freeform here because that's just the way I prefer to use pre-written material. And that 100% colours my thinking and my writing and my approach to writing. Whereas obviously, if you do like using pre-written material, and again, there's nothing. You're not doing it wrong if you're doing that. I have to occasionally. I run a game that is so irregular that I have to use pre-written material purely because that means all of the notes are in the same place in the book, and it frees up my time elsewhere. Then obviously you'll approach this differently, and rather than having it written out down here with recommendations, you will have the suggested table or bullet point. If I were to be doing this fully as like a proper adventure write-up, I would possibly use the same approach that I took with the Scion adventure that I wrote in the first season of the show, where I spelled out how they would get each clue and what the clue would lead to. I'm less bothered about doing so here. Again, because this will not be fully priced. This will be pay what you want. I'm less, and because I will have that caveat prominently everywhere that these are just more. This is more notes than the pre-written adventure. That's kind of the thing. I'm also just, right now, I don't have the time or brain space to dedicate to converting my notes into a pre-written adventure. I thought that this might prove useful for some people as a reminder of the ethos of the show, I guess. This only occurred to me recently, but obviously, because I'm providing the commentary and tips and stuff, it very much stands a record of my thought processes and what they're there for, to hopefully help other people build on them to improve their own writing and stuff. Obviously, if you're not interested in that, that's totally fine. And I'll still take any criticisms and comments you have on board, and that I have yet to have one that's not valid in some way, and I appreciate all of them, but I'm trying to balance my time, my intention in doing this, and also just fun. Anyway, that needs space. It's been staring at me. There we go. So, scene commentary. Is there anything else I need to mention about this scene particularly? I don't particularly think so. They'll be as honest as they can. Grateful for the characters. Help and discretion. Then how you get out of the scene to scene 2. Box text to set the scene. scene location, useful information from the scene. Do I need to elaborate on this? Concerned and overworked, the Transylvanian hounds are terrified their station will drop further if the news comes out. They're happy to help in any way they can and show the characters to the display room. As public displays of benevolence are traditional around the board, they believe they can arrange meetings with the other families. But warn the characters. Purpose. Reputation may tarnish such introductions. Clues, tough to white fur on the glass. Right, so tough to white fur caught on the glass. Let's go with... and then elaborate. This is rat fur. But the characters should have no way of suspecting it to be such. Suspecting this to be the case. Curiously twisted paw print. This comes from an ill-fitting shoe. Okay. Leading to the characters being able to draw several conclusions. I will also say, going back to the point from chat, actually, it's just occurred to me. A lot of official material will omit tables and things because of page space. Tables just take up more room than a sentence. Even if the sentence is like two lines long, it's still taking up far less space than a correctly formatted table ever would. So that's why you'll find a lot of books won't include tables for variable dice results. And to reiterate, I'm not including difficulties here because a medium difficulty check for one group will be a hard difficulty check for another group, purely dependent on skill choices and attributes. And I don't want to force players to play in a certain way. I've lost my train of thought entirely. That's on me. I just need to check terminology. Yeah, botch and triumph, I thought it was. If the characters botch, what do they get on a botch? Oh, if the characters botch, they find the clue, but destroyed in the process. And must rely on their memory of it during their investigation. Characters triumph. I guess I should roll A and roll A. Window at the back of the building is broken close to the bottom of the frame. Indicating, oh hey OBS, do you want to calm down? Indicating a it was small of stature. If the characters roll a triumph, they should be given the information in parentheses. Oh, wonderful. Now next door is doing work, DIY. Should be given the information in parentheses above with the exception of the wrath, which they determine is a I like it from wire-coated dog. Just, you get more information. Congratulations. So there we go. And save. Concepts of success. Can't wait to earn 5k channel points to suggest the actual Donald Trump as a character in one of the campaigns. Oh boy, howdy. Well, that's entirely on you. You know, there are some times I run the show and I'm like, yeah, these are interesting comments. They're sparking a conversation. And then you get other comments and I'm like, I am so happy I don't actually run all that many actual plays on this channel. Good luck with that. That is a fantastic idea and I can't wait to see what happens. But that is entirely on you, my friend. Again, all of this is simply just contextual information for what I was thinking and why I did it. Because yes, if I were writing this as a full adventure, I would write this out in full with like, hey, this is the difficulty they need for this clue, this is the difficulty they need for this clue, etc. But I'm not, because this is notes. Just joking, it would be funny though. It would be funny, and to be fair, like, obviously there are legal issues surrounding it, but you can. Oh, there's a. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a literary principle where you can get away with parodying people and making it obvious that it's them if you do it in such a way that they're never going to call you out on it, because it will force them to admit something about themselves that they don't want to admit. And I can't remember what it's called. But it's like when you parody someone and you give them like an identifying attribute that only they would really know about, that they perceive as embarrassing, whether or not it actually is, and then they can't actually sue you for slander or anything or libel, because that would mean, well, they're unlikely to, because that would mean admitting that their flaw is a thing. But everyone likes to have a hostile NPC. Everyone likes to have an NPC they can rag on every now and then. You know what you're saying? The regular show did something like that with Billy Mitchell. Yeah, it's used. It is used for. I think it's a comedy show, right? It is used for in comedy quite a lot. So I'm just rereading what I've done today. So commentary is the reflection. And then the box text. Then slightly elaborated rundown city house of the Transylvanian Hounds. Rests at the foot of the hill, their old estate was built atop. Because obviously a lot of the time, if you are fleshing out adventures based on notes that you have written for other people to use, it's something to be aware of, that you've got stuff in your head that doesn't come across in the writing, which exactly like that. It's important to this family that they are not living in the estate, but they're living in the estate's shadow, literally and figuratively. It's a storytelling trope, but it's cool. It works. It's a trope for a reason. That's not tips, that's actually relevant to the clues, so I don't mind putting that in the clues section. And then just a tip on how to handle it if they go for a different skill. I may include some basic role-playing advice up here as well, but I'll have to do that next session because next stream because we're running out of time. So I'm going to save the game and we'll head straight into the outro. As I mentioned, I'll be doing next stream. Next stream, theoretically, all being well, will be the 23rd of the month. This show airs bi-weekly, so if you have enjoyed it and you are not following the channel, please do consider clicking the follow button. Onyx Path will appreciate it, and I'll appreciate it, obviously. And you'll get email notifications if you don't turn them off to alert you to when the show goes live. I try to post about this show going live on Twitter, where you can find me at Comrade Bubbles. Onyx Path also put out a promotional tweet for it every just before the show goes live, so if you're not following Onyx Path on Twitter, highly recommend it. While Twitter exists. I post about it on the Discord server, in the Streams channel, and in the Realms of Pugmire channel. And also a couple of other places. There's a Facebook group, like World of Darkness and Onyx Path Media, Gameplay Media Facebook group. So those are all the places you can learn about the show when it goes live. Also, another place you can find about the show when it goes live is the Monday meeting notes. Not when it goes live, but when it's going to be. The Monday meeting notes, I should say. Which are the best place to go for Onyx Path updates. And again, as is the norm, a whistle-stop tour of the Monday meeting notes at the end of the show. This week's meeting touched on how Trinity Continuum Adventure is still in the top 10 of Drive-Thru-RPG. Came out last Wednesday, I believe. About how the Onyx Path cast episode this Friday will be on The World Below. If you are interested in Onyx Path's upcoming, I've been referring to it as apocalyptic fantasy setting. I don't know what the official designation is, but if you're interested in that, if you are interested in The World Below and do know a little bit about it, it's called that because people have to live underground, because above ground is real bad and too deep is real bad. And if you are interested in learning more about that, every Thursday Matthew Dawkins has been doing a blog post teasing something about the setting with a bit of information, and you can check that out on the blog, which you can access through the Monday meeting notes link that I shared. Badana Group's fundraiser on the weekend raised almost $3,000 in donations. Onyx Path work a lot with the Badana Group, and they are in fact helping to create and publish Badana Group's first tabletop role-playing game called Branch Riders. Badana Group focus on a lot of work on tabletop role-playing games as a tool for therapy. Also, announcements about UK Games Expo, June 2nd to 4th. Matthew, Eddie, and a couple of other developers will be there running games. Leisure Games will have a small selection of books, of Onyx Path physical books at the show. And the Onyx Path virtual convention runs June 16th to 18th. And there'll be panels and actual plays on the channel and all of the usual good stuff that we have come to expect over the past few years. And the conversation continues in the comments section about Onyx Path's hypothetical urban horror dark fantasy TTRPG that it will be creator owned and developed. Later this month will be They Came From ... Dot's crowdfunding campaign. Later this week, all these times are in Eastern. Friday 2 PM Hunt of the Vigil, Cinder and Soot. Friday 9 p.m. Mummy the Curse, Oceans of Eternity, and Saturday 9 p.m. Changeling the Lost, Viva Lost Vegas. If you want any promotional graphics for any of that, the post roll does have all of that information. This week's media highlight of the week is Asteronomus's Scion inspired series. This one is The Golden Cage, or How to Catch a God. And on sale this week we have Vigil Watch the Kelder Mountains for Scarred Lands, which is a 5e campaign setting. It's a very good campaign setting if you like post-apocalyptic fantasy, sort of. And then development status: first drafts, Tasty Bit for Trinity Continuum Aberrant, Rooftops, Redlines, Sound God Jumpstart, final draft, TC Ether Player's Guide, editing, Tasty Bit Sound Demigod Village, post-editing development, Trinity Continuum Aberrant, Best at What I Do, art direction, M20 Law of Traditions, Victorian Jumpstart, Scion Once and Future, Trinity Continuum Aegis Kickstarter art, they came from ... Kickstarter art, Trinity Continuum Adventure Addendum, Deviant the Renegade Clade Companion, Changeling the Lost 2nd Edition, The Hedge, Hunter the Vigil, Jumpstart, and World of 20th Icons of Rage. In layout, Trinity Continuum Anima, World of 20th Apocalyptic Record Screen and Booklet, Hunter the Vigil Tending the Flame, World of 20th House of the Apocalypse, and Wallpapers for Exalted Essence, Trinity Continuum Adventure, and World of 20th Apocalyptic Record. In proofing, we've got Mage the Awakening Tome of the Pentacle, and Trinity Continuum Adventure Screen and Booklet. In indexing, Exalted Essence, and at press, Mage 20th Victorian Age and Screen, Scion Dragon and Screen, Scion Masks of the Mythos and Screen, all wrapping up shipping to Kickstarter backers. They came from Tasty Bits compilation and Exalted 3rd Edition Surface Truths. Print on demand proofs are on the way. Trinity Continuum Stampede of Justice, which is the Adventure Jumpstart. Print on demand files uploaded. Trinity Continuum Adventure, traditional printing files being prepped. World of 20th Apocalyptic Record, print on demand files being uploaded. And that is the whistle stop tour of the Monday meeting notes. I would expect, based on just the timing of the next stream, that it is likely, not for certain, but likely, I'll be sharing that Kickstarter link for you, crowdfunding link for you for They Came From. But again, I don't represent Onyx Path in an official capacity. That's just one, a hopeful thinking, and two, just an assumption based on how things are progressing. But I will be switching over to the post roll in a moment, so if you do have any lingering questions, you can follow me on Twitter at Comrade Bubbles. If you have enjoyed, you can ask me questions there. I also do lurk a lot on the Onyx Path community Discord server, and you can provide comments and critique there if you are so moved. Feedback is always appreciated. It lets me know where I'm going wrong and where I can improve the show. If you have missed any of the show and do want to catch up on it, if you're not a subscriber, you will have to wait a week, at which point you can watch it on Twitch until it is removed from Twitch. I think 60 days on Twitch. Or you can, you'll have to watch it on my YouTube channel, where all of these videos go up after the fact. I can't remember the chat command for that off the top of my head, unfortunately. It's just go to YouTube and search for Comrade Bubbles behind the screen. Everything goes up in a playlist, clearly labelled for ease. If you want to watch it before that week is up, however, you could subscribe to the channel, and Onyx Path will be happy. Subscribers get access to emotes, Discord. There's a Discord channel exclusive for subscribers, and also you can watch videos in that week exclusivity period. I will be around for a few minutes in chat while the post roll rolls, so if you have any questions or comments you immediately want to provide, please do. Again, feedback really helps. But all that remains is for me to hope that you have enjoyed the show, that you have found it at least somewhat useful, and that you don't feel like I've been that I've disregarded your input. I very much have taken it on board and tried to provide rationale for why I'm doing things the way I'm doing if I don't change. But please do stay safe, please do stay wholesome, please do stay healthy, please do mask if you can. It really helps medically vulnerable people like myself. And hopefully I'll see you around. Goodbye.